Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for availing yourself this afternoon for this significant session. And thanks to the organizers of this BioAfrica Convention 2021. My name is Mammone Tang, and I'm from the Department of Science and Innovation. My function within the department is looking at the advancement of the indigenous knowledge systems through technology development and innovation support. I will be the host or the facilitator for this session. I am having a company of four speakers who will be sharing with us in terms of what their department or organization will be contributing around this topic of today, which is manufacturing value chains of indigenous knowledge bio innovation, in particular for the cannabis industrialization. Colleagues, we all are aware that medical cannabis or cannabis in general is one of those, marijuana is one of those fast growing industry in the planet. Therefore, as South Africa, we are already starting with our work. We cannot be left behind. And therefore, we have colleagues who will share with us in terms of what their organization is contributing to this immense target of South African government. Without wasting any time, I would like to introduce our speakers for today. We have Dr. Chelepo Puti Ngobezi, who is an innovation specialist in bioeconomy at Innovation Hub, where she is responsible for the execution of innovation programs and thought leadership events in the bioscience and the health sector. We also have Ms. Natalie Feldman, who is a director of bioprospecting and biodiversity economy at the Department of Environmental Affairs. We also have an international speaker, Mr. Forrest Zong, who is an African chief representative for Beijing Tong Reng Tang Chinese medicine. His many roles include being responsible for the development, oversee projects in terms of One Belt, One Road, Belt and Road Initiative, which includes Europe, Africa, Oceania, business development related to New Zealand, Australia, Denmark, Norway, Mozambique, Botswana, Namibia, Tanzania, and etc. We are also going to have Dr. Zandile Funyani, who is a Senior Industry Development Manager at the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. She works in the New Businesses Unit, which is mandated to develop new innovation industries in South Africa, such as clean energy solutions, industries enabled by 4IR and natural products. Ms. Dr. Zandile Funyani, she also develops industry development strategies for the new industries and conduct business development. Thank you so much to our speakers. We really look forward to hearing how we can take this cannabis industrialization forward within our country in order for us to achieve economic development and job creation and all those challenges that we are having as a country. Colleagues, without wasting any time, I would like to first start by setting the rules. Each and every speaker is given 10 minutes. I therefore request that we keep to the time. And for the sake of us being inclusive to all of those who are in this meeting, please, participants outside the speakers, write your questions or your comments on the chat box. And lastly, I would like us to have all the questions and answer session after all the presenters have presented. So without wasting any time, I think I would like for Ms. Natalie to start by giving us a background in terms of what the Department of Agriculture is doing in terms of the development of this cannabis industry. Over to you, Ms. Natalie.
Thank you very much. I'm just sharing my screen. I want to make sure that it is showing. Are you able to see that?
Yes, we can see. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. You've introduced me already. So again, just good afternoon, everyone. My role, and I think most of the government officials in any sector is of a facilitation role, a role to assist and support, a role to regulate. And so my presentation will focus a lot on that. My apologies to those who've heard this all before, because it's basically the song we sing or the Bible we read as we go about our daily duties. So I will just start off by always reiterating, you know, that South African biodiversity is just amazing. South Africa is rich in indigenous biological resources, and that comes mainly from our Cape Kingdom. Which gives us that status of being the third most biodiverse country. And with that, not only just the resources itself, but also our cultural diversity, which gives us then the amazing traditional knowledge that comes with certain properties of plants and seeds and all other microorganisms within the marine space as well as on land. And so we know that a lot of these are then desired by non-commercial or commercial sectors, and that is both national, international, because it's just, you know, so unique and so amazing and has amazing properties. So we've done a study and discovered that South Africa is focused mainly in these first two segments that I have in a circle or in a square, and that is providing the resources by being either wild harvesters, you know, or doing cultivation, and then just some semi-processing where we then sell the raw material, and which most of it is then exported. About 70% is exported. And very little then left behind to actually get into development of the final domestic product. That also comes with a lot of history around the culture of the country, and certain parts of the country also being highly westernized. This is where potential markets need to be tapped into, because we know that you know, there's a certain attitude that comes with the use of indigenous biological resources, as we know, but it's something that we need to focus on. So there's a lot of question marks in that section, and that is the segment we would like to focus on in our space. So we had what we call a pakisa, and we asked ourselves the question, you know, what is South Africa's miracle plant? We know there's the top 5, with rooibos leading, aloe slowly behind, and honeybush coming up as well. And then also others. Buchu is now also one of the big things, much sought after in Europe, mainly in our perfumes and fragrances. So, but still, we find ourselves having many challenges within the sector, and it's not something that the Department of Environment, or now Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, can solve alone or on its own. It's more that we realize that there needs to be lots of collaboration and to fill these gaps, sector gaps, enterprise development gaps, coordination gaps, commercialization gaps. because our main task environment, which is where I'm based, not necessarily forestry and fisheries, is to conserve and sustainably utilize. And I don't have expertise in economics, nor do I have expertise, in agriculture. I do, but not necessarily within the scope of my role and mandate. And so we realized that there was a strong need for us to build a functioning ecosystem across all these different partners that play a role in what we now have coined as the bioprospecting sector. And I know there's a lot of questions around what exactly is this bioprospecting sector, but we know that we prospect for raw materials such as gold and other mining. And this is just obviously looking at our flora and fauna and doing various prospecting around those. So we know that there are different roles to be played by different players or stakeholders, partners, or even international players who seek the products that we can produce. And so this is just highlighting, some of the roles that need to be taken. I'm sure you'll be able to read that for yourself. I won't read each and every one because I have a number of slides to go through. So during the lab, we came up with these initiatives, and the initiatives are focused on increasing the supply, looking at the demand, as well as the value addition. And this is, I think, primarily where the focus of this convention is. It's on that value addition, on producing the value realization. And it's the one area that we are giving attention to, but with the support from many other partners. So also to mention, we know the space is regulated, and the focus of this topic was around cannabis. Cannabis being not necessarily considered indigenous to South Africa, would then not require a permit in terms of the NEMBA, which is your National Environmental Management Biodiversity Act. So you do not need a bioprospecting permit if you wish to access cannabis in particular. But all other species, and I will show that in a few other slides, is going to require that, and I will also give some more detail around that. So to focus mainly on the demand and also the innovation, but we took had a think tank and thought, how do we do this? How are we even going to start this an attempt to grow the sector and to transform the sector and to get to a point where we can actually realize the vision and dream of sustainably utilizing our indigenous biological resources and its associated traditional knowledge, which is what the focus is on. And in this case, it's called indigenous knowledge. My apologies. So as you saw, we thought of having or establishing BioPanza, which is your Bioproducts Advancement Network of South Africa, with a role to coordinate a network which blends the partnerships to optimize development and enhance growth in the biotrade in the bioprospecting sector. And let me just say, this is not an easy task, considering, shortcutting and capacity challenges, and also the high turnaround and of movement of various officials. So there's a lot of hiccups along the way in trying to gather and group people into different clusters of focus. But mainly the objectives of it is to pool the necessary resources. This is also including your financial and non-financial to support our SMMEs, and to facilitate the coordination, collaboration between the various players, and also to advocate for the sector as a whole. When we do different projects. We go in from all angles and having all our T's crossed and I's dotted, so that we don't just, you know, have one aspect covered and not the other. So this is very important, and that we on the same page, not saying different things, but really being positive about the sector and the potential of the needs to be done in terms of the challenges. So the ultimate then is to focus also on that value addition, the local value addition, the segment that I showed you earlier on, where we have obviously the innovation and product development. So what we came up with, and it took a lot of reiterations, was to establish these clusters. So you'll see there's different colors here. We have the green, and then we have red and orange. So the green signifies these are the clusters that have been established and that are running. Some are ahead, some are just about starting, where TORs have been established and the cluster members are identified, and there's a program of work, and others, you know, are still just trying to figure out what they actually are going to do in that role. But I'll give you some more on that later. So you'll see the red. That one hasn't been established, but we know the space, we know the different departments and pieces of legislation and policies that are significant to the sector. And then we have the innovation cluster, which is our, is still what they would call in process. The BioPanza is still pregnant with the innovation cluster. Okay, so moving to the finance cluster, and I'm sure you will hear a lot more from that by Sandile. But I'm just going to give very short and brief what the functioning is of that cluster. Firstly, what happened is we established the Natural Ingredients Product Program. I won't go into detail, but obviously that is a program that will support the development and commercialization of products derived from indigenous natural products. And in this space, we've also included moringa and cannabis. We know that this is also commodities, if I may say that, my apologies, that has high potential for the rural communities and our people, and that is the bottom line in what we are trying to achieve, obviously, in terms of economic growth, transformation, job creation, all of these imperatives of government. And so the focus will be on the technical as well as commercial assistance. At the moment, it's in its pilot stage, and we are also in process of continuously, you know, mobilizing for additional resources from various partners. And in this space, we have all these different departments and entities that is the think tank to how this cluster will operate. Moving on then to the market access cluster. This was one that was started and restarted. So we started with a program of work, and it then sort of evolved into you know, getting a specific outsourcing a project management team that could assist us in getting this off the ground, as it wasn't necessarily easy, because when you have these clusters, you really need to have a champion, and the champion needs to ensure that this is part of their everyday work, and it's not just a sideshow or you know, an extra mural activity. They need to have focus, and it takes a lot of time. So that is what was needed for this cluster. We got a dedicated team who then assisted in this place, in this case. So here we planning to look at all the business support organizations, looking at the offerings, you know, and then we having this on a very live map that could be shown to the SMMEs to link them up with where their needs are. So it's really just a very busy, I don't know the words to use, but it's an exciting platform that SMMEs will soon be able to access. At the moment, we are still just in the process of surveying various SMMEs and BSOs, and looking at the offerings and looking at the needs. And so we want to start off also, like we've done with the finance cluster, with a pilot pipeline, and to test this this vision, where we can match make the support with the need. And at the end of the day, we would like to obviously develop a sector process for SMMEs to expedite access of relevant support to access the market. And so all different departments, and I forgot to mention this, but to mention very quickly now, we are doing this BioPanzer in partnership with the Department of Science and Innovation, as well as the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition. Right. So moving on quickly, the next cluster is the sustainable supply cluster. This responds to our need to increase the supply, and so it is facilitating the implementation of that initiative, but also so that we could have a map of which species is happening in the country. That would not just be a database, but it should be a live map where when you click on a specific GPS point or location, you know exactly who's doing what where, and so that we can then not just look at conservation aspects, which is very important to the department, but also assist in terms of market access and support in terms of, you know, the agricultural processes required for cultivation and so on. So we have prioritized these 25 species that you're seeing now, but we know, and I've mentioned moringa as well as cannabis is not excluded, and we would focus our support on supporting SMMEs that are working with those species as well. But this is just to show you that these species already have a demand, because this is guided by the permitting system that we implement in the department. We know that these species are being utilized, they are requested and required internationally as well as nationally, and they are thriving businesses in the use of these species. We also then, as I said, this one is still red, it's the policy and legislation cluster. But we have what we call a bioprospecting forum, and many of the discussions around policy and legislation have been happening in that space. So we still just need to ensure that we formalize this cluster, and it will obviously require all these different departments that you are seeing on the screen, DSI, TTIC, and the like, and ourselves. And it will obviously entail different departments, different sections with different policies, and we would hope to include the provinces because they are key when it comes to transporting across the provincial borders of your resources, especially the indigenous resources. For cannabis in particular, I'm not too sure how provinces deal with that, but with any indigenous species, if you take from Gauteng to KZN, you'd need a transfer permit. So there's a lot of alignment that needs to be done between the national province, the national department, as well as the provinces, to ensure that we are all on the same page. We want smooth processes and obviously growth in the sector. So this all comes from the Niue Protocol, and I have to emphasize this. It's something that we are legally bound to implement, and we implement this through our NEMBA. And this is basically to focus on the third objective of the CBD, which is the fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising from genetic resources. And many of the presentations that I've been listening to throughout the day have been talking a lot about this. And if you are listening and if the notes are taken, our doors are open. There's simple knock and request for assistance, and we would gladly do that. Our focus is on ensuring that benefits are shared. And we just want to mention that this is a negotiating process. And so it's not just, something that the one party decides on. So if there's a need for support in negotiating, the department could come and assist and facilitate that process to ensure fairness. But that is basically not to make any decision or to be biased toward any party, but to ensure that the law is implemented. I'm not going to go through this, but this is basically our domestic legislation that then responds to our us being a party to the Nagoya Protocol. And again, as you can see, I've highlighted it in bold. We're focusing again on the fair and equitable sharing of benefits, which is key to all the work that we do. This is just to know that we do have regulations in place. We are implementing the permitting system, is going well. We do know that there are challenges, but there's a lot of work being done in the space around providing how-to manuals. And we are in that process now of actually doing some stakeholder engagement on a how-to manual that we've just prepared recently, just to simplify the process, because we know this is the big challenge around use of indigenous biological resources. But the good thing for cannabis, they don't need to worry about all of this, just for your information. Otherwise, then we have the innovation cluster. And that's yeah, I'm done. Yeah, this is still under construction. We will be concluding TOR maybe by the end of September. So we are working with the Department of Science and Innovation on this. They're actually taking the lead, and we are looking forward and very excited about this. So just to mention one last thing, Chairperson, we are also going to be launching our amazing website, still obviously in its teething phase. And I hope that you can, have mercy. And if you do come across it, to please provide input so that we could obviously improve on this. So that would be going live shortly, perhaps also looking toward early October. And we're looking to launch the entire BioPanza, hopefully to have a nice either business breakfast or something where you could really see what we are talking about, this virtual space where we would like to have all players in the sector on board and working together toward the vision of the sector, and that is specifically growth and transformation. And my final word, just to mention that we don't do this alone. We also do this in partnership with funds from different bodies, international bodies, the like, that is from the SECO, GIZ, GF, as well as various departments and IDC as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for the presentation on what your department is doing. BioPanza is something that has started a long time ago, and we are really grateful to hear that something is already, the wheel is already spinning. I have a few questions for you, Natalie. I hope you'll respond to them later at the end. In terms of the financial resources, which is key to all of us, I know, I'm sure you know. I would like to find out in terms of the financial and non-financial support or resource for the SMME, how far is the BioPanza in terms of soliciting or bargaining for that fund? And the second question is around the market access cluster. I would also like to know, given the nature that there's a lot of failures in terms of starting the new business ventures. So the entrepreneurs should be competent in so many business-related segments, and we are having SMMEs that just are failing. Therefore, I want to know what is your criteria in terms of selecting those SMMEs that will be supported within the BioPan. And also for those who are failing or who do not meet the criteria, what are you doing to help them to meet the criteria? Those are my few questions for you. You'll respond to them now, or I think maybe it will be best if you respond to them later.
I'll respond to them later. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, colleagues, we will move to our second speaker. I would like to call our esteemed guest or speaker, Dr. It's not doctor, is it doctor? Mr. His name, same as mine. Mr. Forrest Zone, who is a African Chief Representative for Beijing. And following him, I will call on Dr. Puti, and Dr. Zandile will be the, I think that order will serve us best. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Forrest. You can start.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. I would like to, first of all, I would like to introduce my background and myself. My name is Forrest. I graduated from the TUT. I hold the MTech degree, and after the graduation, I'm working in South Africa for the something like the 5 and 7 years. So I grabbed this opportunity to bring the health systems of Chinese medicine into the Africa business. So first of all, let me introduce the Mammone Tang background. So you will see the screen. Do I share the screen? Already share the screen, I think. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Okay. So this is our philosophy: health, life, global choice. Nature. We believe in nature. We believe that everything is coming from the health systems, the social systems, all from the nature. So we come to second sliders. So can you see my screen, my sharing screen? Dr.
Yes,
Tang, you can see.
You can see your screen. Yes.
Okay. Okay. It's let me introduce I have 2 chapters. The first one is introduce the Beijing Tongtang Group. The second one is introduce the Beijing Tongtang Chinese medicine. First of this organization is founded in 1669. The Beijing Tongtang was the only company serving to the royal family with the Chinese medicine for the 188 years, has more than history of the 350 years. This is our ancestors, something like our Africa ancestors. They bring the Africa ingredient into the town and sell check the patients body and the colors of the face, give some of the formulation with the natural ingredient to heal the disease. You can see we have a lot of the similar. Second one is we have some of the philosophy the company philosophy, top priority, quality, ingredient, brand value. I don't know. I don't going to this slide because it's some of the philosophy, and we talk about the.
Sorry, Mr. Zong.
Yes.
We can't.
Can you
We
put the
can't see your
presenter view
slides,
on?
Sorry.
Can you please put on your slides? We are on the first slide. We can't see other slides. Maximize your presentation.
Okay. Can I say it now?
And we don't see the. We only see the first slide, sir.
Okay. Let me
Yes.
check. Let me check. So can I say second one?
We don't see your presentation at all this time around.
Okay. Let me check systems. Oh, I know what's going on. Hello, can I say it, Dr. Tang?
Yes, we can see something. We can see something. You can scroll and get to the slides that you were talking on. Please. Anyone can help us from the organizers? Is there anyone who can help us, colleagues?
Sorry, Mr. Zong, can you share your screen?
Yes, I'm sharing screen already. Can I say it?
We don't see your screen.
Let
me do this.
Maybe let me get out. Let me get out and.
Colleagues, I think we are going to restructure our program, and we will have to get Dr. Puti's presentation, and she will be followed by Dr. Zandile, and we'll end this session with Mr. Forrest Zong. Meanwhile, he's sorting himself out. Dr. Puti, are you available to start your presentation for us, please?
Yes, Ms. Tang, I will definitely start my presentation. Let me try to share my screen.
Mr. Forrest Zong, we will take your presentation at the end. Please prepare yourself to make sure that we don't waste any time. Thank you, Dr. Puti. You can start, Ceci.
Just please kindly confirm if you can see my screen, Ms. Tang.
We can see your screen. You can see your screen.
Okay.
Ceci. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would just like to thank you, Chairperson, once again, and also the organizers of the Bio-Africa Convention for this opportunity and platform to share and contribute to the bioeconomy advancement in the continent. So as mentioned, I'm from the Innovation Hub, and we are an innovation agency, a regional agency that is based in Gauteng and under the subsidiary of the Gauteng Development Agency, which is under the mandate of the Gauteng Department of Economic Development. So our core business is to foster and accelerate businesses or innovative startup businesses that are meant to towards them becoming sustainable businesses. Without a waste of time, I'd like to just try to map ourselves in the IKS-based innovation value chain that was published by the...
Sorry, Puti, please enlarge your screen. Your screen is cutting. Okay. Please maximize it or minimize it.
Okay, well, I saw that there is. Okay. Please just confirm if it's full.
It's not visible anymore. You are the one who is visible.
Okay, I think something is wrong. But I don't know if I do need to then share my screen. I can just quickly go on and let's see.
Please share your screen again.
All right.
Please share it.
Is it better now?
Yeah, great.
All right.
Go on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we find ourselves in the incubation and manufacturing and towards commercialization of these technologies that are basically started, that are in the Indigenous Knowledge Bio Innovation, which we really believe that we are one of the critical role players in addition and also in partnership with the DSI and also other partners that we partner with, because we believe that IKS is one of the key cross-cutting sector in some of the sectors that we focus on in the bioeconomy, in the innovation hub, which bioeconomy is one of the key sectors that we prioritize in the innovation hub. And we believe that in this generic value chain, like looking at the fact that the development of innovation and also us playing a critical activity in enterprise development, of which other partners will play other part in the value chain, because we believe that we are in one of the critical part of towards manufacturing and advancing these IKS-based bio-innovation towards them playing a role, critical role in the society that is. So our value offering in this is just to ensure that some of the incubated companies, of which is one of the greatest benefit that these bio innovators can access our incubation program to be accelerated further to playing a critical role in commercialization in society. And just to know some of the products, novel products, as well as industry growth for agro-processing, pharmaceutical and cosmeceuticals, we believe that IK bio-innovation do play a role in these subsectors in our bioeconomy unit at the Innovation Hub. And so we have a big part of us creating a strong pipeline for this innovation, because there's a huge gap in skills development, especially when it comes to enterprise skills as well as entrepreneurship. So in partnership with the DSI, and especially the Bio Innovation Unit at the DSI that has supported us over the years, we have a successful program that has been running called the Coach Lab Bio Entrepreneurship Program. And so this program plays one of the critical part of us training possess indigenous knowledge, and also could form part of a critical pipeline into our incubation program, because we have certain criteria that we set for these innovators to gain the benefits of incubations, which I will showcase in the later slide. And with this, we target diverse groups, but most specifically indigenous knowledge holders that don't have any educational training, but they possess knowledge, a strong knowledge of education, and also a contribution into economy and in general into the diverse of people that we train. And they collaborate together with scientists that come to be part of this, and also SMMEs that do need these critical skills for them to obviously play a critical role in advancing this type of innovations, because we believe that they need to be well acknowledged into their role and also what they can potentially do. Because even now in the COVID-19, there is a critical role that indigenous knowledge are playing, and that role should be recognized. So them gaining the skills are critical for them going forward to advancing the Pan-African reality of innovation, understanding what their role is in the innovation ecosystem, because there's a critical knowledge that we don't want to misplace. And I'm just glad to say that currently this program is currently running as we speak. And due to COVID-19, we have been forced to ensure that our indigenous knowledge holders get access to technologies that will allow them to access the program virtually. And this is running and has started last week, and it was done successfully so. with obviously a learning of them knowing that we live in the new 4IR and they can then access certain technologies, such as being part of a virtual platform for them to access these critical skills. And there's also, we're hoping that we can then host an alumni conference where we can have an impact to see where they are, some of them that have been through the program, to see where they are and where they can potentially go after them being part of this training, and also some of those that have been part of the incubation, as this program, as much as the skills development, is also has a competition part of it, of where at the end they are able to pitch to the Innovation Hub incubation program, especially the Biopark, which hosts these life sciences or IKS innovations, where they can then gain the acceleration through the incubation support and value offerings that we have. So this is just a summary of how the training goes. It runs in about 6 modules, and some of these are very critical topics that they don't normally get. So knowledge is something that we hold as critical. Most of them do need funding, but we believe that them possessing this type of knowledge of being compliant and also knowing how to deal with their finances, and also understanding them being African leaders in their businesses, then ensures them to actually be better players in the commercialization of such technologies that we have high regard of. So I would like to just then summarize some of the incubation offerings that we have at the Innovation Hub for such innovators, more especially at our key incubator that looks at these type of innovators, which is advisory and skills development, further through mentoring that is aligned with them, and access to markets. I know Ms. Natalie mentioned access to market. That's one of the value offerings that the Innovation Hub provides. And also infrastructure. And I think it's critical for me to mention that in terms of infrastructure, Biopark is one of the most privileged incubator at the Innovation Hub that has facilities or infrastructure or places where innovators can rent a space at a subsidized amount, and they can obviously have a manufacturing facility at the hub where they can manufacture their things, and also get access to contract manufacturer for their products at hand. And the other part is that in advancement to the Biopark, there is a plan to have a phase 3 Biopark where there will be a manufacturer. We're planning to have a manufacturing pilot plant for IKS-based innovation, for them to, for it to be certified in a way that will be an additional value for these type of innovators. And also networking opportunities and funding opportunities. As much as we don't provide funding, we do have institutions such as the TIA, Technology Innovation Agency, that provides.
You are left with about 1 minute. Can you please wrap it up?
Okay, thank you. And also just the intellectual property that we provide. This one is actually critical because we are in alignment with the IK Act of 2019 to ensure that they are well aligned and that they don't disemerge from that. And that also it's strongly engaged with in the program training. And I think lastly, I just want to mention the fact that we currently have an innovation competition called the Gauteng Accelerator Program that's open for innovators and IKS innovators, especially in the gap biosciences, which is one of the categories that they can take part in applying for this to gain additional seed funding to give them more opportunities.
Thank you for the I'm going to give a chance for Dr. Zandile. Maybe you can just put one slide and share with us what IDC is doing in terms of SMME support. Just a brief, we are left with only 15 minutes. And just summarize your story. Unfortunately, I'll give you just 2-3 minutes. I'm sorry, Ceci. And then Mr. Forrest Zong, please, you'll also have to just collapse your story. You don't anymore. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Zandile.
Thank you very much. Can you see my slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to be very brief. Maybe I should open my video as well. So the IDC is working with other institutions, the Technology Innovation Agency, Department of Environment, and DTIC, and Department of and Innovation to pilot a bespoke fund for the indigenous natural product space. And the fund is basically made up of two components. The first is a commercialization funding, where we fund financial assistance to purchase plant and machinery. We could also fund shared processing facilities to support the ecosystem, the natural product ecosystem, provision for capital expenditure, and also, provision for working capital and operational expenditure as well. So that's the commercialization funding. And then there's also product and process development funding and business support. So this is pre-commercialization funding. A lot of our entrepreneurs in this space have got some gaps in terms of their product and process development. So there's a portion of the funding that would go to assisting them to become compliant in terms of quality control, any product development support that is required to get their products up to spec, market access support. So this is where we link in with the market access cluster, and also any business development support. So sometimes in order to access the commercialization funding, you need to have a good business plan. You need to beef up the financial skills and the technical skills. So the technical support part of the fund will assist with that. We presented last year in terms of the plans for this fund, and we're happy to say that there has been some progress. Although it's not as we would have wanted it to be, we have managed to raise an amount of 21.5 million in order to pilot this fund. I see my slides are stuck, but I'll just speak through the rest. So we've managed to raise an amount of 21.5 million to pilot the fund. There are 6 companies that have been selected in order to assist us to pilot the fund. What we're trying to do is to make sure that that ecosystem that Natalie spoke about in BioPanza actually works. The funding institutions, the business support organizations, the technical assistance institutions, such as the innovation hub that my colleague spoke about, that all of us can actually work together to get these entrepreneurs and their products onto the market. So at the moment, we are finalizing our due diligence on these 6 companies. And in the next few weeks, we should be able to approve and disperse the funding that has been set aside for them.
Very much.
So yes, thank you.
I think I'm going to catch you. Thank you so much for the immense work that you guys have done today. We look forward to the presentation of funding. Mr. Forrest Zong, please, I'm giving you 1 minute. Please share with us what your organization is doing, so that probably I can have access to comments or questions from the viewers.
Okay, so basically I'm coming from the Mammone Tang group. Actually, this company is very, very, very famous owners that are royalists.
I'm giving you 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Doctor.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let me just briefly say. So from my experience in Africa business project, I would like to give 2 suggestions. First one is for education collaboration between South Africa and China by use of the knowledge of the systems and policy systems and so on. The second one is some of the business entrepreneur from the South Africa into the Chinese marketing. So we already started some of the project. For example, the rooibos tea and honey bush. I try to manufacture in the South Africa using the local farming and into the Chinese marketing to improve the health of the systems. That's all. This is my purpose to emphasize in these meetings. So rest of the introduction of my sliders and my ideas of the product and my ideas of the collaboration between the South African and China in traditional medicine systems and policy regulation and so on. So I put in my slide. If anybody want to see, so I can share to the Dr. Chabalala and you, Dr. Tang, so you can help me to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Forrest Zong. Thank you so much. It's unfortunate that we had to cut you like that, but yes,
Okay.
we look forward to learning from what you guys, the Chinese, are doing in terms of developing the traditional medicine or these traditional products of ours. Thank you, colleagues. I think we are unfortunate to not have enough time, or we have wasted so much time in the beginning, but I think we are really grateful in terms of what our South African government is doing. We've heard a lot from Department of Forest and Innovation Hub and IDC in terms of their support for commercialization of our SMMEs. I'm not seeing any questions from the participants on these sessions. But all I wanted to say is, in terms of the Coach Lab entrepreneurship, I really am excited about what the Innovation Hub is doing in terms of capacitating the small, medium enterprise people. And we really want to ensure that knowledge that is on the ground is recognized and is put into the fore for our community development or economic growth. So what I wanted to hear from Puti was the issue of inclusivity of the old people in these virtual teachings, since we have these challenges of COVID-19. How are our old people participating virtually, given the challenges of our resources, be it gadgets or data to learn through this Coach Lab program. But I think because we still have a little bit of time, maybe Natalie can respond to some of the questions, and Puti can also highlight how she is, they are selecting the SMMEs to be part of the training, and how are they including those old people who are the knowledge holders, and yet they can't read and write, and now we are having a virtual training. How are they being part of these trainings? I think those two those questions will help us a lot. Thank you. Natalie?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Okay, you asked about the financial resources and non-financial resources and how far we. I mentioned in my presentation that we are partnering with the different countries like the GIZ, the Germans, and the SECO as well, the Swiss. So a lot of these projects have certain components in there that support SMMEs, either with infrastructure support, either technical support, but the non-financial support mainly comes from another project we have with the GIZ. It's called Bio Innovation Africa, where we have support in terms of mainly around the legislation, which is basically certain projects that we have undertook to have partnerships between the EU and South Africa to support them with the NEMBA and BAPS regulations and taking them through hand-holding processes. There's also training support in terms of contact training, negotiating training, as well as valorization training. And we also have a project that we were quite forceful on in utilizing the finances in this project and capacity buildings for the various SMMEs. Here we've done a call out, and we've even drawn out the date. So we've got a good number of SMMEs that will be supported in various either mentorship programs and the like, different business case development, business plan development, those kinds of business type support. And in terms of the failures you mentioned, and I think that years where we are still, although BioPanza has started a long time, a lot of the time has been used to set it up. And we are, when we go live now, we're going to basically test this. And I'm sure that when we have the website, there will be a community, and we will have those companies, voice their challenges and failures, and see, from the community that is there, the type of responses and support and help that can be provided to the various SMMEs. But I know this is, yeah.
Thank you so
Hopeful.
much,
It's,
Natalie.
thank you.
We look forward to driving that. Dr. Puti, please let us know how you select the SMMEs and those old gogos, how they become part of your training now that we are talking virtual.
Okay, I'll be happy to answer that quickly. So our selection is actually based in partnership with the DSI for some of these SMMEs, especially from different provinces. As we know, we are a local agency, but through DSI, we use the DSI partnership to ensure that they help us select the critical groups that need the support of the training that we provide them. And internally, we look at obviously the business concept that is aligned with our bioeconomy unit, and we then look at their ideas. So with regards to the inclusivity in this virtual platform and this virtual training in 2021, how we ensure that our older generation are included is that we give them a training, and we buy them devices as well as data that will ensure that they access the training without any disturbance, and also that is aligned with their network provider. And then that allows us to obviously ensure that they get reach. And we then, it's just another way of us ensuring that this program can progress. So I think somehow COVID-19 is coming in to ensure that they are aware of this technology advances. So these devices would be something that we plan going ahead to ensure that they have them, because we saw that it's working. And last week was a great indication that they managed to access the training and were very much participating in the program. So thank you. I hope that answers your question, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Puti, for your response. Like I've said before, really, we are really proud and grateful to be South Africans, because indeed our government is doing a lot, in particular for the SMMEs, and their knowledge, their work is the one that will definitely make an impact in terms of economic growth and job creation. Thank you so much, colleagues. I think we are now going to be kicked out of this meeting. Thank you so much again. See you next time. Please take care. Bye.